It was an early afternoon. June was feeling a bit bored at home. He couldn't come up with any idea what to do to ease his boredom. But when he saw his sword in his room, he thought to himself, I haven't done any training in a few days now, he thought to himself. So he thought, why not to do some training for once? So he got up, grabbed his sword, and left the house. And he went to a small place where he usually do some training. And he put up some sticks or wood logs that he would use as practice for, and after being swinging around for at least about 2 hours, he suddenly heard a voice behind him, and he turned around and it was Pyrrha. Pyrrha was standing there with a big smile and said that he was doing good with his practice with his sword. He smiled and said thanks back to her, and he then decided to take a break since practice for 2 hours took a lot of his energy. He then asked her if she wanted to spar with him, and she was like, why not? So she brought up her own weapon, Milo, which she transformed into a short sword. And it can also be transformed to a rifle, but this time decided to use as a short sword. And after that, June had taken enough of his break. He and Pyrrha decided to have a sword fight in a sparring match against each other. And it was actually good for them both, because June was very impressed of her skills by using her sword. Afterwards, they'd been sparring with each other's swords for about half an hour. June decided to take another break, and during that time, Pyrrha decided to use her own weapon to transform it to a rifle, and did shoot at some targets, and he was actually quite impressed of her marksmanship of using rifle. During the time, he knows that Pyrrha is a very professional, capable, friendly, outrageous yet relaxed person. She can always feel composed and collected when despite being a celebrity or something around that. But himself, he is a very outgoing, goofy, and all-friendly person. He treats others equally. He has no problem expressing himself to strangers and even try to bond with them like that. But sometimes that can backfire on him. But there was one thing about that Pyrrha didn't know. That in fact June were in love with her. He had been having these strong feelings for her for a little bit a while now, but he just haven't told her because she is as a celebrity, and he doesn't know how it will affect her status as a celebrity. What if she even want to be in a relationship with someone who's not a celebrity? Or that maybe she didn't want to be with someone in a relationship because she didn't want them to be followed around by the people. And even if they were if they were in a relationship, they might just keep it a secret from the general public, and not have to hide their relationship for the entire public. And June, well, he didn't know if he could actually handle that, at least for a long run. But he just hoped that one day that he could just simply tell her how he actually felt. Knowing that even Pyrrha is patient around other people, which makes her very sociable. But she's a quick thinker, and even though that he's even impressed of her range of combat abilities. But after she had finished her practice of her own rifle, she then turned around and looked at June and asked if something was wrong, because he looked at her at a different way, and he said, oh, nothing, it's just, I'm impressed with your skills. That's it, he said with a big smile. Then he then asked her if she was getting a bit hungry. They maybe could go somewhere and grab something to eat. She thought for a moment, and she said, yes, why not? So they went in town to grab something to eat. And during the time, they were just talking about each other's skills of their weapons and how they improved lately. And Even when June asked her of her status as a celebrity, well, she did say that it might feel a bit lonely not being having someone around, being and sometimes being a celebrity could have been having its advantage, but sometimes it just felt a little bit suffocating. She just sometimes just want to be wished that she could be a simple, normal person and not being a celebrity. But she just always wanted to do that. But he then asked her just a simple question. What would she do if someone would confess their feelings for her? Would she accept it, or would they, if they would be dating, would they have it a secret, or would they would be open in general public? Because since he had feelings for her, he just wanted to know. And she actually admitted that if she liked the guy the same way back, she wouldn't have mind to be in an open relationship, so that the general public would know about her status of being in a relationship with someone. After all, she always takes her status and relationships equally seriously, even though that she could be a little bit stubborn. And when she asked him something about this question, because this is not a typical question that June normally would ask her, even though that June and Pyrrha sometimes doesn't even spend much time together. But it happens from time to time. And he would try to come up with a good excuse or maybe just a cover story. But he couldn't even come up with those right words, but then it just slipped. He told her that he was in love with her for a while, and that made her blush, and before she could say anything, he just put his money on the table and just left by running away. She just sat there, quiet and stunned at what he just did. She thought maybe that this was some sort of a goofy joke or something. So, for the next couple of days, June never saw Pyrrha much. But he did hear from stories from other people that Pyrrha seems to be very not herself. Like, he was worried that she was sick or something. But from what he heard, she wasn't sick, but she was just in such deep thoughts. Even when she was training, she couldn't have been enraged by almost anyone. She was like in such deep thoughts, a deep mind. Then he realized maybe that what he told her might be the one that caused her to do this. And he felt so sorry about this. So the next time when he did meet her, he asked her about this. She told him that was the truth, that she actually had been thinking about what he told her those few days ago. She told him by strong confidence that he actually was serious about his feelings, but he told her that he will back off as just remain as friends if she wanted that. He understood that she didn't want to be in a relationship with him, that she only saw him as a friend. But before he could finish, she literally leaned forward and gave him a kiss. When she finished, he looked so surprised and blushing at her, and she only smiled and said, "I needed to have you shut up," with a big smile, almost a grin. He was really surprised that she actually confessed she had those feelings for him. But they decided to make at least a see if they could work between them, just in case. So they decided to start dating more as just as a trial to see if there actually were any feelings between them, or if they just thought they liked each other. And as they started to went on several dates, people started to notice that they spent a lot of time. But it weren't that much any difference, because people did knew that June and Pyrrha was friends. But this was more like anything, because they usually went on dates either to her place or to the park, just they were having a good time. But after about a couple of weeks, about 3 weeks of been doing this, they realized they were actually such in love with each other, so they started to make it official. And it didn't take long for the general public became aware of their dating. But when they when some reporters actually did ask Pyrrha about this, she confirmed they were dating. And she did also mention that she would not tolerate people to spread false rumors about of her boyfriend June just in case if they want someone to do that. Even so, even so, June and Pyrrha decided to sit or spend as much time they could together. But being her status as a celebrity, it made it sometimes a little hard for her to do that. But they'd spend enough time together doing practice, training, sparring together, or even go to just normal dates. And even though that he did help her with her studies and even her training for much. But despite being a celebrity, she was always modest around other people. And she was actually very happy. Sometimes when she was having been invited to some form of big social gathering or party, she often brought June as her boyfriend or as a date, and by now people actually had accepted him as her date and her boyfriend. But even though even most general thought that he was not the right type of her, because she was very patient, she was very professional, capable person, friendly, and very composed, and since he was very outgoing himself, very goofy, and all-around friendly guy. But when the people decided that maybe that he wasn't right for her, when that came out to her though, Pyrrha told the general public that she did not think this was a good idea to just mention this, but she told the public not to spread any false rumors because if it happens, she will not be kind to anyone that makes the false rumors. And even though that she made the statement, even though the fact that June was an outgoing, goofy guy, but he was always kind. He treats people equally, has no problem express himself to strangers or even friends like that. That was makes him very unique, very that was the one that she likes the most. Even she can be selfless person herself. But she doesn't care of what other people think about June. She loves him, no matter what happens. And she even mentioned that if people wouldn't stop using spread false rumors about her boyfriend like that, she would simply just stop quit to being a celebrity and step down from that and just being a regular person. People, some of her fans like that was very distraught how she just admitted that. And eventually, all the false rumors about June being not the right person for her just suddenly stopped. And thanks to that, it went quiet. People start to accept June as Pyrrha's boyfriend. But it was under rumors more, or it wasn't like rumors, but more questions to Pyrrha. When she was interviewed by some reporters at one point, when they asked her if she and June had any plans for the future to be together, like get married and start a family. But both actually admitted that it was only a thought they had on themselves if this relationship could have been a long term. But since they had just recently started dating, this was just one thing that they prefer not wanted to talk about or even think about, since even if they just talked about it, maybe get married at one point in the future. But both of them just wanted to take it slowly. They didn't want to be rushed into something and eventually they didn't like to be married and they had been get the divorce and all that. But despite this, despite having support from both their families and friends, and each other's relationship was the best for all. But after a while though, June started to realize maybe that his true feelings for Pyrrha was only getting stronger for each single day. Even that the talk about him perhaps one day getting married with Pyrrha, he actually talked to himself or even thought about it. Because he could actually see himself with her as her husband and even a father to their future kids. But he didn't want to rush into things like that. Even though when they were alone, it happened they talked about if they would get married, how many kids they will have, or if she would continue to be as a celebrity. But after a while, though, it would eventually happen till they found themselves. And after they had been dating for a total of 4 years, June actually hadn't made his plans of proposing to Pyrrha. He did propose to her when they went on to celebrate. She immediately said yes. When the rest of the families and friends, when they were told, they were just quite happy actually. When she made this announcement as a status of a celebrity, all her fans was really excited, even though some of them were just crying, but they were just happy to see how happy she were to get married with the one that she loved the most of all. They decided to just only have a small wedding since they preferred something small, which they invited friends and family. And it was just a great time for them to see how both families interacted at the wedding reception. June's family was just happy to see him interacting so much with Pyrrha at the wedding reception party, especially when they both shared the same dance for the first time. Even Pyrrha's family could have been happy for her to see how she was smiling and how her eyes were sparkling when she was just dancing, talking to June at the wedding reception like that. It was clearly how she really meant for him. And later, they actually went to the west coastline to this place where Pyrrha had arranged for this as their honeymoon. And they just had a good time there. And 3 years after they had been married, June and Pyrrha made a big announcement to their families and their friends that they were expecting their first child. But not just one, but two. They were expecting twin daughters. When both families found out about this, they were over the moon. They were so happy about this. And they want to name them Sarah and Jenny. When the twins were born, they were just so beautiful. Even though they were identical twins also. Sarah, she was born to be like her mother. She wanted to be a huntress, or at least a celebrity for some reason. But eventually she changed her mind. She wanted to be a teacher. And she eventually became a teacher and at one point got married and have two daughters of her own. Jenny, though, she also wanted to be something. She wanted to be a healer or something, but eventually changed her mind and she wanted to be an author. She wrote some stories about history and other childhood events or childhood stories. She actually became a good author of writing mystery novels and childhood stories. But eventually, even she got married and have two sons of her own. June and Pyrrha couldn't be happier to be with the one they loved the most of all. Having someone in their lives like this was the best thing they could ever ask for. And this is how June and Pyrrha, for the true love, got a big family together. The end.